Thanks again for joining.
Thank
Hello,
you.
everyone. Welcome to the UK Sangha Call. I'm starting it up on a different day than normal today. It's Thursday, but I'm here with Brett, uh, uh, uh,
Hello.
an honorable member of the Noble Sangha we got going. Um, so thank you, Brett, for joining. Today I have again, the Anguttara Nikaya ready up to kind of shotgun off, read some of the passages. And the way I've been incorporating these suttas into my practice is I just kind of randomly read them, like if I'm like turning the pages in a poem book or something. I just read one. It inspires like there's some sort of like experiential joy or enthusiasm that happens when I read it. It's like yes, like a kind of feeling of like you get a little giddiness from the power of the words. And I don't really like study it like a scholar. I just read it and marinate on it and share it because sharing it is like part of the fun. And then so in these calls, I don't everything is off the dome, so I don't prepare the all I have is just the PDF file with a bunch of suttas, and I just pick ones randomly and I read it, and then I give my real-time explanation of what that means to me or my interpretation of that, which may help somebody, may not, but it'll be my the meaning that I extract out of it. And then the floor is completely open. Brett, if you have any wisdom to share, like cut me off at any moment. So it's like if you ever want to, oh, I want to say something about this sutta, or even you want to talk about something that's related, slightly unrelated, floor is completely open. So
I
yeah.
would like to say at that time, the way you describe your experience with reading suttas and other materials is very much parallels my own. It's very random, and sometimes I'll take the edge of the book and just open it up, and it opens up to exactly what I need, or I didn't even if I didn't know what I was looking for.
Exactly. It just something will like synchronize and resonate with
Resonate.
something that you intuitively already know is true. That's why it brings about so much confidence in it because you're reading the words that describe the reality of your experience. So it's not really something dogmatic that you have to believe in. It's more come and see for yourself. And people who find joy in the Dhamma, that's a sign of some real progress going. So it's no longer a coping mechanism. You know what I'm saying? It's like you like this stuff, like you find joy in it. You're not trying to cope for something else. It inspires the right effort to abandon um, unwholesome states of mind. The Dhamma is, as long as we're in this call talking about Dhamma and thinking about Dhamma. Welcome, Michael. Good to see you. So,
Howdy.
as long as we're in this call talking about Dhamma, thinking about Dhamma, one thought after another, that's literally a characteristic factor of first jhana. So, one wholesome thought after another wholesome thought. If there's no unwholesome thoughts in between a sequence of wholesome thoughts, so talking about the Dhamma, reading about the Dhamma, thinking about the Dhamma, discerning on the Dhamma, if there's no unwholesome thoughts that break the streak,
Continuity.
continuity, break the streak. So like you
Mhm.
get on a roll, right? You get on a roll. If there's no unwholesome thoughts that break the continuity of the wholesome thoughts, uh, then that is the right conditions for PT and Sukha to arise. So you'll be in first jhana if it is one wholesome thought after another. It's it's that simple. If there's an unwholesome thought, uh, it might not take you out of first jhana if you catch it quick and go back to wholesome thought. But
Appropriate attention.
right. So segueing into that, there is a sutta in this thing that I may have read in the last call, but it's directly related to what just popped up. Like right now, that just popped up for me just because it just in the moment came out and there it is. But that's something I've read. Like I'm not making this up. That's something I read in the suttas. That's something that was taught to me by Dhammarato. So hopefully it inspires the same joy for anyone who's listening to this. Maybe in lifetimes from now or way off into the future. You never know. But anyways, here's the meat and potatoes a meat and potatoes teaching of the Buddha. Mind is the forerunner. Okay. Mind is the forerunner. So what is mind? Mind is our experience, the constructing of our experience, the interpretation of our experience. There's the seeing of an object, and then there's the thinking about what it is, and then there's the feeling a certain way about it. So all of this is mind. None of it is not mind. See, it would be a mistake to think that the object is not mind. You see something that is not mind with mind, and then feel a certain way about it that is separate from the object. See what I'm saying? So we don't see an outside world. We see seeing itself. We don't hear vibrations in the air. We hear hearing. So mind is the forerunner. Everything we experience is mind. And this is a profound insight that's often, taken for granted. It's just it's probably one of the most common insights in spirituality and like non-duality in general. But to really, really recognize that and see how many of our thoughts is based upon the illusion that it isn't mind and that there's something other than mind that is going on here. Right? Okay, so enough dancing around it. I'm going to read Mind is the Forerunner. Monks, whatever states are unwholesome, partake of the unwholesome, pertain to the unwholesome. All these have mind as their forerunner. Mind arises as the first of them, followed by the unwholesome states. Monks, whatever states are wholesome, partake of the wholesome, pertain to the wholesome. All these have mind as their forerunner. Mind arises as the first of them, followed by the wholesome states. No other thing do I know, O monks, which is so responsible for causing unarisen unwholesome states to arise and arisen wholesome states to wane as negligence. In one who is negligent, unarisen unwholesome states will arise and arisen wholesome states will wane. Okay, so this is important because essentially what the Buddha is saying is the default state of the mind is to veer off into unwholesome states. I think we've all know this by experience. What happens? What does our mind start thinking about when we're not paying attention to what it's doing? It starts thinking about stuff that makes you feel bad. Hey, Anna, welcome. It's good to have you. Cool, we got a good gang here.
Hello.
We're
Hey,
just
Anna.
See you guys.
yeah, good to have you. I would say good to see you if your mic was on, but it's good to see your profile pic. But where was I? Does anyone remember what I was? Oh yeah, the default state. Yeah. So the default state of the mind. Okay, good to see you. Good to see you. the default state of the mind is to veer off into the unwholesome. So if we just let the mind do its thing, so this is a lot of gripes that I have with a lot of non-doing teachings, do-nothing teachings, is that the problem is what the mind's tendency is going to do because of the habitual tendencies, the instinctual tendencies of just being a human, and the habitual tendencies that are learned by societal conditioning, mainly by our parents and then by the surrounding society. The habitual tendency is to veer towards sorrow, lamentation, and despair, right? The world, people are not happy in the world. Have you noticed this? Have you noticed that people in the world are generally unhappy? There is little happiness found in the world. Yes, Brett, you have something to say?
It could be that something even that drives our survival.
It drives our survival.
Even
It's
prior to
so deep
conditioning.
rooted. It drives it's our very instincts to go into a fear response. It's so deep rooted. It's literally biological, a biological response that the body is going to create in response to an unwholesome thought. It all starts with the mind. So first,
Yes.
the mind thinks about something to be afraid of, right? It worries about something. Then a fear response is activated because that's built into our very DNA to survive. Oh, there's a danger. Activate the adrenaline. Uh, increase the heart rate. You know, do all these reactions that will actually get us into a state of fear that may have been advantageous for, you know, being in the jungle. You know, when there's dangers all around. Go ahead. Are you going to jump in?
It was just really good.
Okay, good. Yeah, anyone feel free to jump in at any time. I really love to hear you guys. But also you don't feel obligated to either. But yeah, so when the animal is in danger all the time, so the animal mind, the animal is always looking out for dangers. Enlightenment is not really conducive to survival, is it? Just totally relaxing, chilling out, descending into unsurpassed voidness, right? That's not going to save you from a tiger. Okay,
Wisdom might.
right. So wisdom. So wisdom. Wisdom is not putting yourself in the situation. So using that frontal cortex part, the rational mind, to avoid dangerous situations, get the physical body into a place of safety and seclusion, to where there actually is no dangers present other than the dangers that we create in our own mind, right? So the point is not to let yourself get mugged or attacked by a tiger, but the point is that there's that instinctual response that happens even when we are safe, even when we're in a safe area, at the root of a tree, in an empty hut, etc. Or just in your room by yourself. Okay. Okay, so this is another little sutta, and this isn't really a meditation instruction, but it's something I see that can be found in a lot of other traditions, and some people may recognize as faith. And faith is actually one of the steps in dependent origination. So I'm going to read this not as a dogma to believe in, but as a visceral,
as a way to experience our practice.
As a way to experience our practice. So as a visceral power of faith, of confidence, of in the truth of this teaching and where this teaching started from. So like a lot of people, a lot of Christians, you know, they accept the Lord Jesus Christ as the one true Savior, God become man. And you can see, like, for people who are sincere practitioners of Christianity, if it's not a dogma, if they're like practicing Christianity, you can see the power of the love and the fearlessness that they experience in relation to that. So it's a visceral experience, it's a feeling meditation. It's not just a blind faith or a dogma. And so I'm going. Mind is the forerunner.
Again is the forerunner.
Again, exactly. So with that context, I'll read this, because I myself, I would pretty much consider myself a secular Buddhist, but I don't like some of what pragmatic Dharma has lost, some of the nuggets of the more religious aspect of Buddhism. So I can appreciate both. But anyways, here it goes. Monks, there is one person whose arising in the world is for the welfare of the multitude, for the happiness of the multitude, who comes out of compassion for the world, for the good, welfare, and happiness of devas and humans. So devas, essentially like either angels or gods, anyways, heavenly beings. Not just for the happiness of humans, for the happiness of literal gods and angels. So this teaching is profound and it's far-reaching. Who is that one person? It is the Tathagata, the Arahant, the fully enlightened one. This is that one person. So the Tathagata, it's a very interesting word, the Tathagata. There's different ways to translate it, but one of them is the one well gone, or the gone one, or the thus come one. There's kind of different translations, but what it essentially means is the one who has fully arrived, fully established in wisdom, fully established in the truth, and without coming back, without an ounce of leftover. So the Buddha was fully awakened, and he was fully purified in all aspects, as
without
you
remainder.
can get. Go ahead. Without remainder. The ceaseless remainder. Yeah, without remainder. That's another quote from Sita. Without remainder. So that's powerful. Just even thinking about that, right? That gets the juices flowing. If it doesn't, if that's like dogmatic for you, if you're like, oh, I don't, then don't worry about it. Don't think about it. Then just focus on the practical instructions. You know. So there's tons of different tools within even Theravada Buddhism, within even the canonical suttas, and even in the lifetime of the Buddha, the teachings that the Buddha gave, he would give different tools within his own teaching. But every tool or every teaching of the Buddha is always directly related to suffering and the end of suffering. If it's not related somehow to suffering and the end of suffering, then it's not the teaching of the Buddha. But there's different descriptions, pointers, techniques, manifestations of how exactly suffering is recognized, its origin understood, its passing away experienced, for those with little dust in their eyes, for those with eyes to see. I think that's from the Bible. So like it's weird. It's the parallels that we find to that. Me personally, I'm a fan of like Christian mysticism and stuff like that, and the parallels that you can find are mind blowing. In the types of language that is used. So for those with eyes to see, or those with little dust in their eyes, that doesn't mean literal eyes. It means, like seeing with wisdom, understanding. I'll continue. Monks, there's one person arising in the world who is unique, without a peer, without counterpart, incomparable, unequaled, matchless, unrivaled, the best of humans. Who is that one person? It is the Tathagata, the Arhat, the fully enlightened one. This is that one person. Monks, the manifestation of one person is the manifestation of great vision, of great light, of great radiance. It is the manifestation of the 6 things unsurpassed, the realization of the 4 analytic knowledges, the penetration of the various elements, and the diversity of elements. It is the realization of the fruit of knowledge and liberation, the realization of the fruits of stream entry, once returning, non-returning, and arhatship. Who is that one person? It is the Tathagata, the Arhat, the fully enlightened one. This is that one person. Okay, so I'd like to elaborate on this and the function of faith, because it's only a step in the ladder. So if you get stuck in the faith step, you will be worshiping your idea of the Buddha rather than recognizing the Buddha as enlightened. So that faith inspires the effort to do the Dhamma and like actually practice the teaching. So you're like,
Virya,
you like,
energy.
so it's like, yeah, exactly. So it's like you're not going to listen to someone unless you trust that person, right? Why would you practice someone that you didn't trust? But so the point is not to get stuck on worshiping the Buddha or something as a new god, as a new deity, as a new thing. The point is to the faith in the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha inspires that right effort to make a change in your own mind and to practice going to the wholesome, to truth, to understanding, to recognizing, yeah. But so I have another sutta pulled up from the Samyutta Nikaya. It's called Proximate Cause, and it's one of the suttas that elaborates dependent origination in full. So I'll read the end of the sutta that summarizes how dependent origination works, and then we can see how this sutta about the one enlightened one, the truly unsurpassed enlightened one, links to actually one of the steps on the links of dependent origination. And if you use that to evoke that power, that fearlessness, you can follow it to its course, like a river flowing to the ocean, like the snow on the peaks of the mountaintop melting and filling up the gullies and the valleys full of life and greenery. I'm paraphrasing again. I didn't come up with that. That's also from the sutta. But here we go. Here's the dependent origination. Thus, bhikkhus, with ignorance as proximate cause, volitional formations come to be. With volitional formations as and I'm not going to get into explaining what each one means, because that would probably take a whole hour, but I'm just going to read it off and then point out which one that links to. With volitional formations as proximate cause, consciousness comes to be. With consciousness as proximate cause, name and form. With name and form as proximate cause, the 6 sense bases. With the 6 sense bases as proximate cause, contact. So this is all different levels of mind arising and appearing and processing data, whatnot. the six sense bases, with the six sense bases as proximate cause contact, with contact as proximate cause feeling, with feeling as proximate cause craving, with craving as proximate cause clinging, with clinging as proximate cause existence, with existence as proximate cause birth. So my interpretation of that is that teaching about birth is something that is always kind of I somehow resonated with and intuitively understood, is that you're here because you wanted to be. So like this may be too woo woo or whatever, or not based on like science or whatever, but I really do think that we are born into this lifetime because there was some sort of a desire to have this experience, whether you conceptualize that desire as caused by a prior lifetime or just caused by the 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 intelligence of the universe or God's creation, or like however you
Ignorance.
ignorance. So however you conceptualize the 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 source of this desire, like, you know, because you can say, okay, if ignorance started it all, what caused ignorance, right? So but that's not what the Buddha teaches, because the Buddha doesn't teach ontology. He teaches the arisal and passing away of suffering. So he only starts with ignorance because that's the root of suffering. But anyways, the latter part about existence. So clinging causes existence, causes birth. So it's like there was some sort of like primordial desire to experience this, and it manifested. That's the way I conceptualize it, at least. Again, that's just a concept. But anyways, with birth as proximate cause suffering, with suffering as proximate cause faith. Bam. Okay. So there's suffering. We all suffer.
Anna's typing in the chat, by the way, Scott.
Oh, let me check the chat. Sorry, I don't usually have the chat open. Which page is it on? Oh, okay. This is a different sutta. This is a different sutta that I'm like drawing a parallel to. I'm gonna post it in the chat as well, so you guys can read it on your own. There it is in the link for anyone who's interested. Okay. Yeah. So with suffering as proximate cause faith, that's the next step. So we all suffer, and then the experience of suffering creates the sort of will to escape suffering. So this is how it loops back around. Like the end of suffering is actually caused by the suffering itself, which is kind of weird to think about, but it's dependent on the suffering itself. So the suffering plays a profound role in the way to the end of suffering. But in this detailed description of dependent origination, it just goes into more detail than the Four Noble Truths. But this detailed description is exactly the same as the Four Noble Truths. It's directly, each link, one of the links falls under one of the Four Noble Truths. So suffering as proximate cause of faith, with faith as proximate cause gladness, right? So there's that gladness that comes out of the power of faith in the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha. So I've gone to the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha for refuge, for life. I have accepted the teachings as true and the way to happiness. And this produces a gladness in the mind, okay? This produces an energy in the mind. And if this gladness is attended to and cultivated, With gladness as proximate cause, rapture. With rapture as proximate cause, tranquility. So rapture as another way to say joy. Okay. So joy. Joy, it's fleeting, but it's powerful. That's why I like the William Blake quote I posted earlier.
Comes and it goes.
Yeah, it comes and goes.
Ownerless.
So each of these links, you can get stuck at each of these links. So that's why not to get discouraged. The Dhamma is nuanced, and it is it's subtle, okay, and it's figuring out how the mind is working, and all the things that the mind does to kind of sidestep the simplicity of the practice, make it more complicated than it actually is. The gladness causes the rapture. So he who binds himself to joy does the winged life destroy. So the winged life, so like the feeling of freedom, being able to fly, not being stuck here in this body, right? The feeling of being free and open, like the visceral feeling of openness. There may be a tightness somewhere in the body. There may be a tightness in the chest somewhere. All you have to do is recognize this tightness and then see what its relationship is to the rest of mind in its totality. So it's the tightness or the tension in the body is appearing and disappearing within the absence of the tightness, if that makes sense. So this is the teaching of emptiness. The tightness appears and disappears. So the absence of the tightness is infinitely larger than the tightness itself. But when there is only the tightness and the forgetting, the ignorance of its absence, of its, in other words, of its impermanence, then the tightness is truly believed to be me. And then we suffer. So you don't suffer from the tightness in your body. You suffer from the reaction to it. So you can start at any link of the dependent origination and start with wisdom. Wisdom at the point of contact. So you play the cards you are given. We're here. The way our thoughts, feelings, everything is comprised, it is what it is, the way it is right now. And you can just come clean and accept that and look at it directly here and now, and boom, you're out. So each moment is an opportunity to wake up. And the mind happens so quickly. The Buddha does not have a simile for how fast the mind is. So every moment so quickly is the opportunity to wake up. If you see what I'm saying. So quickly does the mind interpret, process, draw boundaries, imagine hypothetical situations. So with gladness as proximate cause, rapture, so joy. And then if you, again, like the William Blake quote says, if you kind of hold on to this joy, because the joy feels so good. I like that joy. You know what I mean? I want it to stay. I don't want that joy to leave, you know? So that destroys it. But
Clinging.
Go ahead.
Clinging. I just said clinging.
clinging to the joy. But he who kisses joy as it flies lives in eternity's sunrise. So just appreciating it as it is and letting it go. So lives in eternity's sunrise. Okay, let's go back to the dependent origination sutta. With rapture as proximate cause, tranquility. So there's an escape beyond believe that if you liked rapture, you're going to love this. You're going to love the next thing. So it's like if you get too stuck on rapture, you're not going to realize that there is even an escape beyond that that's even better than the rapture. So it's the path of jhana is increasingly good. It's the path, the whole path of the Dhamma is good in the middle, good in the beginning. I mean, good in the beginning, good in the middle, and good in the end. So the joy is good, but there's no reason to cling to a past joy once it's gone, because that's the very thing that
stops
takes you out of the wholesome state, right? So if you kiss the joy as it comes and it flies, because joy is usually quicker than the other types of good feelings that arise dependent on wholesome states of mind. Joy is one of the quicker ones. It's a fast burst. Joy, it comes and it lights you up and it dissipates. So let it suffuse your entire body, and let it relax your body and let it go. So the joy comes, it bursts, and it suffuses the experience of your body. It feels good to breathe even. There's that joy. And you kiss it as it goes, and with rapture as proximate cause, so joy, tranquility. So that kind of surrender, relaxation feeling. This is okay. Tranquility. With tranquility as proximate cause, happiness. So genuine happiness. Childlike happiness. The serenity and the peace of innocence. Okay. This is so again, when we get on a roll with those wholesome thoughts, one wholesome thought after another, we contact something that is innocent, that is pure within ourselves, that is undistorted. It doesn't want anything. It doesn't need anything. It's okay just the way that it is. There's a quote in the Bible, to enter the kingdom of heaven, first you must become like children. So a lot of times, not always, okay, some small children will be throwing a tantrum, but a lot of times, if I watch a small child just joyfully playing, it can teach you Dhamma in that moment, that you see just the inherent joy, the purity of their mind. There's not a single unwholesome thought in that child. That child hasn't been so conditioned yet to start thinking all these unwholesome thoughts. It hasn't had to learn that as a defense mechanism. So you can see the innocence and the purity. So what we're doing is the difference between the child and us is that the child doesn't know how the conditions for that. The child just found themselves there, but is not wise to. The child doesn't know how good the child actually has it. The child is just living in the moment. But we are intentionally going into a childlike state of mind with wisdom. So it's like the adult, there's the inner adult that is bringing up that, nurturing that inner child purposefully, intentionally. So go ahead, Brett.
There was a poem I read somewhere, and it said, We have many reasons for the pain, but there is no reason for the joy.
Exactly. So causeless joy. Well, I mean, it's just joy because of not getting something, or not a reason for the joy. It's joy because the absence of wanting anything else. So the joy is, that's the teaching of emptiness. The joy is, it's caused by the absence of the defilements, the absence of unwholesome thoughts. It is not caused by getting a new shiny jhana. Ooh, I got this jhana. I get a badge. Now I'm an accomplished meditator, and I'm a higher social. Now I have a higher ranking than the other meditators because I attained this, right? So that's missing the point. So if you think you're getting something, you're getting an accomplishment or something, that's missing the point. It's the absence of wanting to get anything. So the purity of satisfaction. Okay. So with tranquility as proximate cause, happiness. With happiness as proximate cause, here it says concentration, but collectedness. So collectedness of mind. When everything calms down, when everything is happy, the mind is collected. The mind is unified. It's present. It's in it's now in the senses. It's in the play by play, the mind moment by mind moment, mental formation by mental formation. It's collected here. It's not scattered. It can see more clearly with happiness as a condition for that. So a lot of Buddhist practitioners will practice concentrating, collecting, without the prior faith, gladness, tranquility, all of that. So this is actually the way that the Buddha teaches it. It's all this happiness and joy, and then there is the collectedness. Now you can really see the mind, the mechanism of the mind with a precision, because the waters are not disturbed anymore. The waters have calmed down, so you can see to the bottom of the lake. There's another William Blake quote. When the doors of perception are cleansed, everything would appear to man as it is, infinite. But let's replace infinite with boundless. So when the doors of perception are cleansed, there's two routes you can go from there. So when you arrive at collectedness after tranquility. So another way to point to collectedness is equanimity, fourth jhana. So tranquility would be third jhana. So just sukha, tranquility. The good feeling is still there. There's still a good feeling suffusing the body. But when that feeling passes away too, because all things pass, all things must pass, all things are impermanent, that passes away too, there's no feeling at all. There's just a clear mind, a clear comprehending mind, a clear seeing mind that can see experience for what it really is. And so there's two routes to go from here, from the equanimity step. You can either go into boundless jhanas, or you can go into fruition or a path moment and experience nibbana. Or you can poop back out into unwholesome states. Or you can go into a lower jhana. You can start back up the first jhana. So if you've flown into a really serene state, and then you feel it start to taper off, you feel some unwholesome thoughts start to creep back in, you can restart it at the first jhana and just stay in that wholesome state. But when the conditions are right, when the stars align, so to speak, when the mind is ripe for fruition, fruition will happen naturally from that equanimity or from that collectedness. Or for some people who are talented and or some people are just more oriented towards these types of mystical experience, you may go into boundless jhana from there. So that's why I bring up the William Blake quote, when the doors of perception are cleansed. So when the disturbances of mind are gone and you see things with collectedness, with concentration, or with clarity, things lose their boundaries. So the boundary between me and not me starts to lose its meaning. And there's just experience unfolding, boundless. So you can even experience a boundless consciousness jhana. And a boundless consciousness jhana, even that can be clung to. So even that can be, it's still something. It's still a fabricated experience. It's a very good one. And it's like a state of heaven. You know, there's for each of the boundless jhanas in the Buddhist cosmology, there's a corresponding heaven realm. And in some of the suttas, the Buddha will say, bhikkhus, like, you should be repulsed by being reborn in a heaven realm. Wow, you should be repulsed by it, but let alone reborn in an unwholesome state. So I don't know. To me, being reborn in a heaven realm sounds pretty good, right? That sounds pretty like, yeah, heaven realm, that's awesome. But the Buddha is pointing to something much more profound than that. And that's why the teaching of the Buddha is unsurpassed. It goes past even heaven realms, being reborn in heaven. But if you get reborn in a heaven realm, then that's a whole lot better than getting reborn in a lower realm, you know. So that's a sign that, like, you're going in a right direction. So but let me say one last thing before you jump in. But let's take this out of like after we die context, because I mean, I like to think like this is what happens, but I don't know. Let's go into here and now context. We can be reborn each moment in a heaven realm or hell realm. Yeah, so heaven and hell are states of mind that we're constantly reborn in, you know. They're not permanent. There's no eternal damnation. You know, it can always pass, and you can always go in a better direction. But yeah, go ahead, Brett.
What about the sutta with the reprimand of Sariputta, where he guided a dying individual to a Brahma realm and then was allegedly reprimanded by the Buddha for not leading this person to liberation?
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't read that one, but that's very interesting. I didn't know about that one. But yeah,
I'll have to look it up.
I think a lot of spiritual traditions they end at these heaven realms, or they end at boundless consciousness. And it's not like they're purposely misguiding people. They just haven't realized that there's an escape beyond it. So it's cool and it's fun, and I think it's worth experiencing. Because it purifies the mind. It's a wholesome state of mind. But
practice
to
here now.
Yeah, but to
not
not
for ontological reasons for me.
exactly. So, but to treat even that, because it's so good that it may be even more easy to get attached to it. To treat even that the same
Yeah,
as
hard
we
to
treat,
practice in those realms.
Right. So to treat even that experience the same as we treated rapture earlier on. So kiss it as it flies and then live in eternity's sunrise, right? So appreciate it while it's there. Appreciate the boundlessness, you know, if you have this, if this experience arises, but let it go. It's not you, it's not self. Okay, so yeah, that was a little sidestep into the two things that can happen from equanimity. But with concentration as proximate cause, the knowledge and vision of things as they really are, with the knowledge and vision of things as they really are as proximate cause, revulsion. Okay, so this that's fine. So revulsion. If you see how this links up to what exactly we were talking about earlier, with revulsion as proximate cause, dispassion. So seeing things for what they are, that there could be no permanent satisfying thing in here. It could never truly satisfy you. So there's a revulsion towards the wanting to get something because you fully recognize the futility of wanting to get something out of anything. Because you fully see things as they are, that they're impermanent and they're not going to satisfy you. So there's revulsion towards the ignorance or the wanting of those things. So it's not the same as aversion. Okay, this is why maybe Dhammarato would say well, there's a better word than revulsion, but the revulsion is not the same as aversion. So it's not an unpleasant experience. It's not it doesn't feel shitty. It feels it's a relief.
It's refreshment.
To not because we realize that our happiness is not dependent upon things that are unreliable. So it's a relief. Yeah, it's just you simply recognize the futility of it. And after revulsion is dispassion. So dispassion is sublime. Dispassion is really what takes you to nibbana, or the absolute unsurpassed voidness, is just dispassion. Absolute dispassion. So we experienced all this happiness, joy. It was a nice roller coaster, and we're done. That's it. Like there's nothing else to get or want. Like dispassion. Everything's okay. Everything always has been okay. Everything always will be okay. You know, everything happens exactly as it ought to be, and things unfold naturally and impersonally on their own. And so this, I'm just talking around dispassion, but I'm trying to point to something that is beyond words. Dispassion. Okay. So with dispassion as proximate cause, liberation. So liberation here would mean nibbana. So the cessation of perception and feeling. It doesn't say consciousness in the canon. I don't know where people, some people throw in the cessation of consciousness too. It doesn't say that. It says the cessation of perception and feeling. So the cessation of perception would be the end of interpreting immediate sensory experience. So the end of any interpretation of it, and the end of feeling any way about it. Good, pleasant, painful, or neutral feeling about it. So those go away. And so when there's no perception of the scene, so this ties into the Bahia Sutta, when there's no perception or interpretation of the scene, when for you there will be in reference to the seen, only the seen. In reference to the heard, only the heard. In reference to the cognized, only the cognized. In reference to the felt, only the felt. Then you are neither here nor there, nor anywhere between the two. This, just this, is the end of suffering. So when did it ever say the cessation of consciousness? There's still sense. There's still the experience of senses. It doesn't mean you have to blank out of existence. It says this is what the Buddha taught, and it's so misunderstood. They think nibbana is some magical, unattainable thing of just disappearing. And how would you be if consciousness disappeared? How would you know that it disappeared? Because you wouldn't be there when it was gone. You could say after the fact, oh, there was a blank in my experience. But that doesn't really add up. What there is a blank, but there's a blank in the perception. So the blank happens as a byproduct when no perceptions are happening. There's nothing to remember because nothing's being perceived. So memories are constructed by the interpretation or the perception of sensory data. So this is where this is why people would be like, oh, I blanked out. No, it doesn't mean that there's no senses, you know? As long as you're alive, you're going to be seeing stuff. You're going to be feeling stuff, you know?
There's still
So
a continuum.
yeah, so like you don't have to imagine nibbana as such a far out thing, but it is truly sublime. So it's so simple. The profundity is how simple it is. In the scene, only the scene. You're not here or there. So you're no longer a person looking out over there. Seeing is appearing where it is. Thinking is appearing where it is. Where's thinking arising, right? It's just appearing where it is. And you're not here or there or in between. So you're just, everything's just fine. It is what it is. So with liberation as proximate cause, the knowledge of destruction, and this means the destruction of the taints. So that just means the end of the defilements of mind, or greed, hatred, and delusion. That's the things, the things that make you feel bad. Is greed. It's a thought that's based in greed, hatred, or delusion.
Loba dosa moha.
Okay. Okay, so I'm just gonna shoot. Okay, does anyone have anything to say? It could be it could be you just want to say something, you want to share something about your practice, or you have a question. I'm gonna give an opportunity for anyone to jump in right now. Otherwise, I'm gonna continue with more suttas. And if anyone needs to leave because of time, that's okay. I'm just gonna keep going because I'm having a lot of fun.
Okay. It's chilly in my environment and I'm not
Okay.
appropriately dressed, but Scott,
Yes.
thank you for this.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thanks for coming, Brett. It's really good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you, Brett.
A joy to have you.
I appreciate being here. I'm grateful.
Yeah.
to
I'm
everyone.
grateful. Likewise, right back at you. Thank you.
Sadhu.
Sadhu, sadhu. Okay. How are you guys doing? Michael, you good with me keeping going?
Yeah.
Awesome. Great. Okay. Yeah, I didn't want to like have that awkward thing where it's like people really want to go, but they don't want to be rude and just drop out. So like I wanted to give that opportunity. But yeah, so here's another sutta from the Anguttara Nikaya, number 7, impossible. It is impossible, O monks, and it cannot be that a person possessed of right view should regard any formation as permanent, but it is possible for an uninstructed worldling to regard a formation as permanent. So, what's a formation? I'm gonna do like Socratic method. What's a formation?
A process of taking something and changing it from what it really is. Or what it started out as.
That is a formation, but it's not all formations. So okay, so the process of taking something and either interpreting it or having a mental image representation of it, that's a formation, yes. But even the thing that that's being processed or represented is also a formation.
Mm.
So all formations are impermanent. The processing of the thing and the thing itself.
Right. I suppose it seems, in my mind, a bit of a chicken and egg scenario between when the process of a formation arising happens and the formation like actually arising, if that makes any sense.
It's a good line of inquiry and investigation. So I don't want to create a conceptual framework for it. Rather, I'll just leave that for you to look and see the truth of it for yourself. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it is possible, O monks, and it cannot be, that a person possessed of right view should regard any formation as a source of happiness. But it is possible for an uninstructed worldling to regard a formation as the source of happiness. So formation. So even the formation of a jhana, a wholesome state, it's not the source. It's a byproduct. It is impossible, O monks, and it cannot be, that a person possessed of right view should regard anything as a self. But it is possible for an uninstructed worldling to regard something as a self. Right, so the three characteristics. I'm going to skip to the chapter of twos, number 9, unremitting effort. See, unremitting effort. A lot of people will be like, oh, meditation is anti-effort. Well, there is effort, but it's the right kind of effort. It's the effort that is conducive to sustainability. So it's the kind of effort that can be unremitting. If it's an effort that burns out, well, that's too much effort. It's just the right amount of effort that can just keep going. Okay. So unremitting effort. 2 things, O monks, I came to know well: not to be content with good states of mind, so far achieved, and to be unremitting in the struggle for the goal. Unremittingly, indeed, did I struggle and I resolve. Let only my skin, sinews, and bones remain. Let the flesh and blood in my body dry up. yet there shall be no ceasing of energy till I have attained whatever can be won by manly strength, manly energy, manly effort. So not to, offend anyone with the manly, but I'm thinking manly just means courageous. So again, Buddha is speaking to the people of the time. So like just courageous effort, fearlessness, being a lion, a lion in the face of dukkha, a lion in the face of mortality and whatnot. So unremittingly did I struggle, resolve. So just that you have a unwavering energy to watch the mind, to wake up. Through diligence have I won enlightenment. Through diligence have I won the unsurpassed security from bondage. If you too, O monks, will struggle unremittingly and resolve, let only my skin, sinews, bones remain. Let the flesh and blood in my body dry up. Yet there shall be no ceasing of energy till I have attained whatever can be won by manly strength, manly energy, manly effort. Then you too will soon realize through your own direct knowledge in this very life that unsurpassed goal of the holy life for which sons of good families rightly go forth from home into homelessness. And entering into it, you will dwell in it. Therefore, O monks, you should train yourselves thus. Unremittingly shall I struggle and resolve, even when my body is breaking down, there's still going to be this unremitting effort. Abandon evil, O monks. One can abandon evil, monks. If it were impossible to abandon evil, I would not ask you to do so. But as it can be done, therefore I say abandon evil. Okay, this abandon evil. So deliver us from evil. I don't want to say temptation because that's very Christian. All right, lead us from temptation, Yeah, but yeah, I don't want to say, but deliver us from evil. So abandon evil. There's a way out. It's a good news. No matter how bad it's gotten, you're an axe murderer. You can still abandon evil.
Mm-hmm.
The Buddha taught the Dhamma to a murderer just the same.
Mm-hmm.
I think like the like killing your parents is like probably it's like karmically the worst thing you can do. So I'm not exactly sure how that person can be helped, but even if there's a lot of evil, even if things have gotten so bad, you let your mind get into such a dumpster fire of just of hate, of hating someone, of greed, wanting things to be different, wanting, sorrowing and lamenting about what you've lost or what you don't have in this life, like in this world, a worldly thing that you don't have that you want. You really want it, or you hate a certain thing, or you're just confused and you're just in a state of delusion. So you're confused. There's no clarity. Everything's scattered. You're like a scared animal just reacting. So these are the greed, delusion, and ill will. This is what I think evil is a catch-all term for these. So it's not necessarily like evil as in like the bad guy in a movie. Like I'm not saying like you have evil in your heart or something. Like the connotation can be misinterpreted, but evil as in any of the causes of suffering. So like evil as in the activity of our mind that makes us feel bad. That's not you, but that's the evil that it is possible to abandon that evil. So I see you, Mara, right? That's just a caricature of this real experience. Abandon evil amongst, okay, if this abandoning of evil would bring harm and suffering, I would not ask you to abandon it. But as the abandoning of evil brings well-being and happiness, therefore I say, abandon evil. Cultivate the good, O monks. One can cultivate the good, O monks. If it were impossible to cultivate the good, I would not ask you to do so. But as it can be done, therefore I say, cultivate the good. If this cultivation of the good would bring harm and suffering, I would not ask you to cultivate it. But as the cultivation of good brings well-being and happiness, therefore I say, cultivate the good. So the Buddha's instruction is to actively cultivate the good, to actively do it, to actively participate in the Dhamma, to actively participate in a mind moment of wholesomeness, to think a wholesome thought on purpose, intentionally. I think I'm gonna tie it off with this one last sutta that is related to cultivating the good, and it's the a closer one to the beginning. And then I'm gonna tie it off, or I'm gonna open it up one last time, and then I think this was a good call. So loving kindness, monks, if for just the time of a finger snap, a monk produces a thought of loving kindness, develops it, gives attention to it. So for just the time of a finger snap, a monk produces a thought of loving kindness, develops it. So just a thought, a loving thought. I love you guys. Like, or I love my morning coffee. You know, doesn't have to be. It's just a thought of love. You know, the experience of love. Could be anything. Just a loving thought. And it happens so quickly in a finger snap. So if one develops it, gives attention to it, so you just give your attention to that very quick thought of love. Such a one is rightly called a monk. Not in vain does he meditate. He acts in accordance with that master's teaching. He follows his advice and eats deservingly the country's alms food, much more so if he cultivates it. So we're not monks, but a way to, I would translate it for lay people, is if you um, if you give attention to that thought of love and you cultivate it and you nourish it, everyone around you is going to benefit, let alone yourself. The love that you experience helps other people, and it may be not well received by other people, and it may put you back into ignorance when that love is rejected. But it is an opportunity for other people to experience love as well. It's not a guarantee, but it's an opportunity. Yeah, go ahead.
It's kind of like throwing a party,
Yeah.
and other people can come too and enjoy it, and
Yeah. And so if this love is disturbed, to go back into seclusion and get back into that state of love. Okay. Yeah. Does anyone have any thing to say, anything to share, any questions, feel free. Any last words? All right. Well, thank you. Thank you so much for coming, guys. I had a lot of fun doing this. And I wonder if Thursdays would be a better day because it seemed like more people came today than last time. Or what do you guys think? Would you rather have it on Thursdays or Wednesdays? Indifference? Okay. I'm
No,
gonna.
indifference.
Okay.
This is random.
All right.
But
Well,
thank you so much. That was very enjoyable.
yeah. Thank you guys for coming. I'll see you next time. All right. Bye-bye.
Yeah, thank
Bye-bye.
you, Scott. Good to see you, Anna.
Good
Have
to
a good
see
one,
you.
y'all.
Thank you. Bye bye.